What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so there have been photographs circulating online that appear to show President Donald Trump falling asleep at the funeral of the late Pope Francis. Of course, Pope Francis passed away, was it a week ago, I believe? Or a week ago, or close to a week ago. I think he was 88 years old. Had been dealing with a lot of health issues. I think he had some type of infection or something. He was a young man where he lost a lung and had lung issues for many years. I think he passed away from a stroke. Had been hospitalized for a month with respiratory illnesses or illness for several weeks before he passed away. Anyway, this photo has been circulating online showing President Trump, who is 78 years old, apparently falling asleep. And, a lot of people are talking about this. And look, for all the Trump supporters out there, I know I got a lot of Trump supporters that subscribe to me. And I told you guys, when y'all subscribe to me, I'm not a Trump supporter. I just dislike Kamala Harris that much. And it had nothing to do with her being a woman. It had to do everything that she did to black people legally on her way up the political ladder, and the fact that she was an incompetent idiot. She's incompetent. She has no excuse. She ain't past her prime like Biden. You know what I'm saying? She's an imbecile. We saw that during her campaign. But look, let's be honest, man. Ain't no third term in this dude right here. There's no way in hell this man can survive a third term. Look, there's some people that wonder if he can survive this term. He's already showing the strain. He already appears at times disorientated when he's being asked questions. He's visibly much slower than he was 8 years ago, or even 4 years ago when he was president. So what's good for the goose is good for the motherfucking gander. If I'm going in on Joe Biden, y'all like, hell yeah, he old. Well, this nigga old too. Don't just try to automatically ignore it because that's your guy. No, we don't do that here. We don't show favoritism just because you particularly like a candidate. I understand you might give them the benefit of the doubt, but he's old. And if you love your country as much as some of you Trumpsters pretend to or profess to, then you don't want an elderly, mentally decrepit, wannabe dictator in place, potentially being manipulated and compromised by subordinates who have even more insidious goals and plans. To be honest with you, Trump has been kind of lucky as far as his political career is concerned, because in 2016 he ran against a woman, Hillary Clinton, who was universally despised by the Republican Party and not particularly inspiring as far as being a candidate. So much so that the third party vote, which largely siphoned away from the left, was, I think, something approaching 6 million. 6 million voters chose to say to hell with either parties. Then in 2020, he was running against a depleted version of Joe Biden, who hadn't been the same since his son Beau died. And then he runs against, in 2024, the most, I think, incompetent major party candidate we've ever seen. Despite the massive influx of bias, liberal reporting, 85% favorable reporting, she still lost all 7 swing states. If he ran up against an actual credible candidate like a Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, they would smoke this dude. That's just my opinion. Okay. But yeah, man, he's asleep. I heard some people saying, oh, he's praying here. Man, come on, man. Head back, mouth open. I know what that is. That's that apnea. You know what I'm saying? That's that apnea, apting to act up. He old, man. Old people sleep. Hell, I sleep more than I did when I was in my 20s. When I was in my 20s, I rarely took a nap. Shit, I take a nap, at least a 30-minute, hour nap almost every day now. Right around this time, I take a nap. Not today, but I take a nap. It just happens. You slow down. Your body uses up its energy much quicker, and you don't have as much energy. You need to restore it, and that gets restored by sleeping. He's slowing down. Now, I don't really get all that I don't really get all that riled up about someone falling asleep. That could happen to almost anybody, especially someone who's past 60, 70. What really starts bothering me is if he cannot exercise his basic executive duties, which there was great evidence that Joe Biden couldn't do. And the media and subordinates and the executive branch during the Biden administration was working overtime covering up. And it ain't just our imagination like we were told 3-4 years ago or 2-3 years ago. They came out recently and admitted they were covering it up. Joe Scarborough talked about it. They covered it up. Now, to me, Trump is an imbecile. Gulf of America. Lord have mercy. Anyway, I think Trump is basically an imbecile, but he has appeal. Then again, I thought Ronald Reagan was an imbecile, but he won 49 states, so what the fuck do I know? So, at the end of the day, he has his base. Base. How low can you go? They can go real low. But, the thing is, we got to see if there's a precipitous decline like we saw with Joe Biden. I mean, the reports that were out there with Joe Biden was this guy was basically only operational at best for 3 to 4 hours a day. Some days he couldn't even really execute his basic job duties. His subordinates had to basically had to run the White House for him. At that point, the 25th Amendment should be invoked. Now, if we get to that point with Donald Trump, I don't know, but if this is how he is at the start of his second term, ain't no way in the hell he could serve a third term. But anyway, that's just how I look at it. Tell me what you guys think.